Good morning, everyone. I am pleased to be here. For the record, I'm Representative Laurie Pettengill from Carroll 1, Bartlett, Jackson, Chatham, Harts, Hales, and Conway. I am handing around my statement. It is with great concern that I am here, and I do know that here is H-E-R-E, here to testify for Amendment 2058H to SB 217FN. The concern arises over the continued sovereignty of our private lands in the United States of America. The International Council for Local Environmental Initiatives, I.C.L.E.I, is a part of the UN Agenda 21. Agenda 21 was unanimously denounced by the committeemen and committeewomen at the most recent GOP annual convention. And I've handed out that form. On it is signed the committeemen and women who sponsored the amendment, and it was unanimously approved. So hopefully we will get this on our platform, which will be great because it's very important. We have 4 communities in New Hampshire that are members of the I.C.L.E.I initiative: Portsmouth, Wolfboro, Keene, and Nashua. All pay the UN to be active partners in sustainability. I believe Nashua pays about $1,400 to be a sustainability member. Non-elected Conservation Commission members involve communities in I.C.L.E.I initiatives. Frequently, the community elected leadership is unaware of the connection or even that their community is an I.C.L.E.I member. This is really an initiative that is taking place by stealth, and I don't think that Conservation Commission members necessarily want to deceive the people in their communities. I think a lot of them are being deceived. I think that I spoke in another hearing that I was in Wolfboro, and I said to a Wolfboro Planning Board member, "So you're an I.C.L.E.I community?" And he said, "I'm a what?" And he had no idea. And I challenge anybody to ask any of the I.C.L.E.I community elected leadership whether they know that they're an I.C.L.E.I member and what I.C.L.E.I is all about. So, anyways, I equate I.C.L.E.I and Agenda 21 as the land grab equivalent to the Law of the Sea Treaty. I think that it is the UN land grab. The Law of the Sea Treaty obviously is the water grab from where the moose decides to go up where in my neck of the woods to the end of the Saco River. I think that a lot of how the carrots of I.C.L.E.I are being dispensed throughout New Hampshire are through regional governance initiatives. And I gave you a sheet, and I apologize for not having more. It's the Wyndham Residents Oppose Agenda 21. And in that, they were asked to sign on to a regional initiative to get HUD money. They're little carrots. They're $1,000, $2,000, $3,000, $4,000. Quite a small amount of money for giving up your sovereignty, I say. But and people are starting to open their eyes and say, wait a second, do we want to sign on to this? And I think that's a great thing that community members are really starting to be concerned about this. We're going out, a lot of people are having meetings and saying, this is what you're getting yourself into, this is where this program goes. I like to think that Cass Sunstein stated in one of his classes, I was listening to somebody talking about Cass Sunstein as a class member, stated that that Congress really was going to become moot because they were going to, all they needed to, they didn't need really Congress to accept and approve a lot of the initiatives that they need to get through Agenda 21 through. All they needed was regional governance. And through regional governance, they could get rules and regulations. There was nobody in that hierarchy that is an elected person. And that's where the problem lies also, is that you must have elected people as part of the process of any kind of decision-making processes in your communities and in your state. So, and I think they are achieving that quite well, actually. And so I agree with Representative Baldessaro that his comment regarding the urgency of our expansion of signing communities and the urgency of this bill to be really seriously looked at and considered now, because I think we need to stop this in its place now, like people said, because it is unconstitutional. We did have one person that went against I.C.L.E.I in our municipal and county government hearing, and I thought it was very interesting that he was also from Nashua. And Nashua is the regional commission that gives out all of the HUD money to the other regional commissions and communities throughout our state. So that seemed quite interesting to me that he was the only person that did speak against I.C.L.E.I. So that is the end of my testimony. Please consider the ramifications of our sovereignty if I.C.L.E.I is allowed to continue to expand throughout our communities. And thank you.
I have a question for you here, and I'm going to bring up. The House and the Senate, as amended by the Senate, passed HB 514. And what it is an act related to the entry on private land and establish a community discussion study issues related to the entry of private
Right,
land.
right.
This bill that we passed in the House go totally against I.C.L.E.I here, private property issues?
Would this bill go against?
Right, does I.C.L.E.I, would this here go against the communities that have I.C.L.E.I? Do they support I.C.L.E.I on private property issues, stuff that's in there, under the principles?
Oh, I know what you mean.
Or
You
do
mean,
they support
would I.C.L.E.I,
legislation here?
would I.C.L.E.I be in direct, would I.C.L.E.I be in direct violation of, yeah, they're not compatible at all. You can't have private property and private property rights, which that bill initiates, and have basically no private property rights. I have a very interesting, the Defend Rural America. This was a very, I really liked this, this website, because basically the people who write in this website are Fish and Game, U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service employees. You know, they're past employees and they see what's going on. And in one of the paragraphs under the legal and legislation on conservation easements, which I think this is part of a plan of I.C.L.E.I.'s, is for one, these easements require compliance with certain regulations, but these regulations are not static. They get worse over time. A set-aside along a creek that starts with a 50-foot regulation can grow to a 300-foot aside, for example, and even engulf the land the home sits on, without any further input or approval of the owner. For another, easements reduce property values often dramatically, as property owners discover when they try to sell. These properties are in many cases snapped up by conservancy groups for pennies on the dollar, then sold at jacked up prices to the federal government at a handsome profit. The result, what started as an easement grows into the permanent and perpetual abolition of private property. And this is what we're fighting. We're fighting the permanent abolition of private property. And we've just really got to stop that.
So, like, real quick, so would you say that the 3 to 4 communities in the state of New Hampshire probably disregarded our Constitution, the rights of the people of New Hampshire?
I think unbeknownst to them, yes, they did.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have one question, but you may not have the answer to it, Representative Pettengill. It was mentioned that we're talking billions of dollars that are behind this Agenda 21. Does the name Soros come up anywhere in there?
I think the name Nature Conservancy does. And Sierra Club. You know, so those are the two names that pop up in my head.
Thank you very much, Representative.
You're very welcome.